What's going on, everybody? It's Freedo here for Your Overwatch, and today we're trying something a little bit different. Today we're interviewing Selfless Emongg about various Overwatch subjects. This is a new type of video from us, and it's something that I'm excited to try to do more often if you guys enjoy it, so please let me know in the comment section down below, and be sure to smash the like button if you like the idea of us reaching out and having conversations with other people in the community to discuss things about Overwatch. Now, in the interview itself, it doesn't include anything about the Fran situation, which I'm sure many of you do know about. We didn't end up covering it on this channel, so if you don't know, one of Selfless players got banned from Season 0 of Overwatch Contenders, as well as the entirety of Season 5, which ultimately is like a 3-month ban, for inadvisable conduct while on stream. I did talk to Emongg about this, but there wasn't a lot of interesting discussion to be had, as he basically boiled it down to the team is dealing with it internally and treating it seriously. There's not really much more to say. Beyond that, though, Selfless kind of has a weird image because some of their players are prone to smack talk, and of course the Fran situation combined with that. I think it's important for us as a community to not just point the finger at someone when they do something wrong, but allow them that second chance to redeem themselves. I think that's the other part of justice. And of course, Emongg wasn't involved in any of that stuff. Emongg has always been a really cool guy, a very fun streamer, and someone that I hope you enjoy and check out for yourself. So no juicy drama talk today, but we do discuss Emongg's approach to pro Overwatch, how he works within the team of Selfless, we compare the regions a bit, and we talk about the process of adapting a Korean player into an English-speaking team. And we do talk about the Roadhog change too, because Emongg is kind of a famous Roadhog player. Let us know what you think, and now, on to the interview. What's going on, everybody? It's Freedo today with a interview with one of my favorite pro players in the entire scene, Emongg. I got a chance to meet him in Ranked, and I finally nailed him down to do an interview here today. You want to say hi to everybody?
Hello, everybody. I hope you guys are all having a good day or night. Feels good to be here to finally do an interview. We've been trying to get this going for, I think, like almost 2 months now, so...
Our schedules are so busy, man. It's crazy.
Yeah, exactly.
So do you want to give a quick introduction to who you are, what team you play for, and what position you play?
Yeah, so I play for Selfless. Some people may have heard of us, some people not. Some good, some bad, depends, you know. I'm the flex player, I guess you could say, so sometimes you'll see me on tanks or DPS. I mean, I could probably play Lucio if need be, so I pretty much have to kind of switch my role based off of what the meta calls for.
I think somewhat you might be a bit famous for your Roadhog plays, which I do want to get your opinion on the Roadhog changes a little bit later, but I want to know a little bit more about how you view Selfless in the pro scene. To me, whenever I watched your team, you seem to be like really scrappy, and I know that word kind of gets overused in Overwatch now, but of course you kind of pioneered the spawn camping thing. Like, what's your thought process and maybe your philosophy of how you want your team to play and differentiate yourself from the rest of the scene?
I think one thing we like is we're not really afraid of trying things. I think a lot of people become so scared of trying things out that they kind of they'll basically follow the meta, and a lot of the time there's nothing wrong with that. Like, for example, like we are currently in the phase of following the meta. Like our fat comps are becoming less and less because, like, when you play in tournaments, you are given a certain map pool. The Contenders Cup that we're in right now, or the tournament, the map pool is basically dive maps. There isn't many fat comp maps. When I refer to fat comp, for anybody who's wondering, it's like, you know, like a Reinhardt, Roadhog, Zarya, Soldier, Tracer, heroes like that you would find more in a structured, like, you know, Reinhardt comp. Obviously now the current meta is Winston D.Va. I don't see that switching, and it's coming to the point where most maps are like very high ground heavy. So you see a lot of Winston D.Va being played. So we're kind of at the point now where we're trying to be a little bit less scrappy, but we're still adapting that scrappy style to the Winston D.Va style. The Winston D.Va combo is just so insanely ridiculous if played correctly. It's like you almost have to play it at this point. And with the new Roadhog change, there's no guarantee that you can run Roadhog to counter that. One big thing about this game is as the meta shifts, you have to change your style. You can't always be your style. You can adapt the same mindset, but you have to play different heroes, you know, different like approaches to like how you're going to play it, stuff like that. So
what are your favorite heroes to play in Overwatch, at least in the competitive level? Because I think you're kind of known for being a Roadhog badass, utterly taking over games sometimes. And like you said, that might be taken away from you now, and you're kind of restricted to the other roles that you play.
When you commit to being a flex player on a team, you come to the understanding that there's a good chance you're not going to play that hero for long. Fun fact, people don't know this about my Roadhog. I didn't start playing Roadhog till the end of February. of this year. I never was a Roadhog main. I never played Roadhog. My first minutes on Roadhog were in scrims. I didn't play Roadhog in ranked. I learned how to play Roadhog with like kind of, I guess you could say, good habits, which is maybe why I got that bit of that reputation. Like I was kind of a team first Roadhog. I wasn't like a flank hog. You know, I technically the way I played hog is the way that the new hog has to be played. But the damage reduction thing is kind of an issue with tanks and with Winston D.Va, where like, you know, if I hook a Winston, it's not going to matter because of D.Va. If I hook a D.Va, well, then I have to make sure that my teammates are in the spot. So like, it's a weird spot where like, yeah, Roadhog may not be used. And plus, if you've noticed recently, or people who might have noticed, I'm on Winston right now because the meta is Winston D.Va. That comes with the territory of being a flex player, though. I basically, whatever my team needs me to play, I go to ranked and I just work on my mechanics over and over again, hours on hours, and make sure that I can be the best I can at that role. And I never get complacent. I never say, okay, I'm happy with where I'm at. I always want to just keep improving regardless of what people think. Like people go, oh, great game on Roadhog. Yeah, but you know, I screwed up here. I screwed up there. I need to fix this. And then that's how I always look at every hero I play. So.
Who do you think's the most powerful hero in the meta right now?
Now, are we talking in ranked or in like actual competitive play? Because that's two different stories.
Well, both, I guess. I can give an answer for each.
Okay, so right now at a very high level of ranked, I would imagine that Tracer is probably one of the more overpowered characters. It's not okay. So let me rephrase this because I don't want to like stir anything up there. Like Tracer isn't necessarily overpowered to the extent that like this hero needs to be changed, because Tracer's one of those heroes that if you tinker with her too much, she will be really bad, right? She's really good at being able to just go frag out. She has the ability to go cause enough of a ruckus that like, even if you don't have the best aim, but as a Tracer, you're staying alive and you're pulling pressure off, you can do really well. So then it comes to the next thing, you know, in team setting, what is powerful? Well, Tracer is, but honestly, what's really powerful is Winston D.Va, in the sense that a good Winston player knows how to use his bubbles correctly to line of sight damage, and a really good D.Va doesn't just hold right click. A really good D.Va has really good defense matrix management and can basically make it feel like there's endless defense matrix. There's obviously a big cry right now about defense matrix in general, about what people think. Imagine that, but with players who you constantly feel like they have it up, because that's what really separates a good D.Va from a great D.Va. So I feel like a really good defensive D.Va who knows how to get aggro is really powerful right now in the meta too. As well as a Winston who knows how to use bubbles correctly, he knows how to, you know, position himself, knows when to use his ult, when not to use his ult, stuff like that. Obviously, Genji is good too. I feel like Genji's a really high skill cap character. So say you're like in the lower ranks, like you may find yourself struggling a lot. And a lot of that comes with, you know, you have to just mechanically be really good at him, understand how to survive, understand how to get your kills. One of those heroes where like, it's definitely a really good hero, but is it, you know, a lot of players I don't think are as capable on Genji as they could be on a Tracer or something like that. So
you said before that Roadhog would have to be played differently now, and you didn't think he would be as good. Now, definitely, I think I do agree, and we have spoke about this on the channel a little bit, that Roadhog overall is less impactful in terms of his solo carry potential, but do you think there's any room for him to be able to, like, say, battle the Tracer? Because oftentimes, from either watching pro play or noticing how things pan out, is that the Tracer kind of just farms Roadhog and you're all in on that one hook. Do you think the head hitbox reduction is enough to sort of help him battle a Tracer in more of a 2-2-2 context? Because oftentimes it seems to me at least that Roadhog's really only viable in the multi-tank, like you said, called it fat comp, right? So that you play around that hook. Do you think he could fit almost basically into your guys' comp, your old Selfless comp?
I do think that Roadhog in ranked will still have a potential. This is going to sound really weird, but I feel like maybe at the higher levels, it will have more potential because teammates will play around it more. I find that one thing I see in lower ranks, and this is natural, is like people are going to naturally, they don't really play the meta for a while. They play based off of this hero counters this hero. And I think that Roadhog may struggle a little bit in the lower ranks because people are just going to switch to Reaper on Roadhog. And right now, Reaper is a pretty good counter to Roadhog in general. Obviously, D.Va can negate that a little bit, but it can go both ways, right? So for example, if a Roadhog hooks a Reaper, which good luck, you're not going to be able to get the one-shot kill. So then if there's even a remotely good D.Va paying attention, that Reaper will stay alive. The Reaper now has lifesteal. That Roadhog is going to get shredded. So I think that's the main problem you're going to find with Roadhog, is that teams may just be able to go Reaper in general and kind of just do what Roadhog does minus the hook, which is, you know, kill tank, stuff like that. But then we go back to square one, which is D.Va. D.Va will, you know, if you get a good hook off, D.Va can still negate all the damage you're going to do. The one thing that Roadhog does have now, like you said, I think Roadhog can, in theory, 1v1 a Tracer a lot better now. I think actually Roadhog is in a much better spot against Tracer, but everything else, because of D.Va alone and the fact that Reaper got a little bit of a buff, Roadhog's in this weird spot where like we won't really know until it's played a ton, until players will have the opportunity to go against good players or go against players in general and see what the reactions are. There's a chance Roadhog could be great. I don't think so. Sometimes you just need to let things happen. I don't necessarily agree with the changes. I do think Roadhog is nerfed. There's no denying that. At the same time, I feel like you need to wait and see type of thing and hope that like you can find a way to make it work. It takes a while for people to adapt. Like, people were playing Winston Diva a month ago. Just now in the past week and a half, I see Winston Diva like 24/7. So this is at GM level, obviously.
Well, sometimes you go on to Masters level and play with me. Well, you must go on like a D-rank train to get down to the scrub level with me. But
real talk to anybody wondering if things get a lot better at ranked when you get to higher levels, not really. The only difference is that the quality of games get a little bit better, the teamwork gets better, stuff like that.
Now, I want to switch gears almost entirely now and maybe talk about the pro scene in general. One thing that I think has become abundantly clear is the difference between the different regions. Have you played in other regions besides the West? I'm not familiar, actually.
We haven't played many Korean teams. European teams we've scrimmed, but like European and I'd say the European and NA meta for the most part kind of stays around the same. As people know, we have Carpe on our team now. So we've got to get a little bit of an idea of how the Korean style of play is. I think the biggest thing that Korea has over like the Western scene is more than likely they are better teammates in reality. They prioritize teamwork a lot of the time. They seem to prioritize really good target focusing. On top of that, they really, like a lot of the players seem to care about being a good tank. They care about being a good Winston, a good Diva. They have good DPS players, don't get me wrong, but obviously in the Western scene, everybody just locks DPS for the most part. So you have a lot of DPS players here. So I think that's really the biggest difference I've seen is that it's just teamwork is better there because they prioritize it. They believe in the idea that working as a team is the best way to win in Overwatch, which isn't untrue to an extent, right? It's definitely a good way to play.
A lot of Western teams are scalping Korean talent. You yourself have a Korean DPS player now. How does that work out with the language barriers? And honestly, I love the fact that the West are kind of manning up really and realizing that the talent in the region isn't as dense as it is in Korea and sort of pulling players over here. Because Western fans, we want sick teams too, right? We don't want all the best teams to be in Korea. So I really look forward to this change. But kind of talk about the process of developing that. Because I know you're right in the middle of it right now because Carpe just came, right?
For the language barrier side of it, it's definitely different. He has a good understanding of what we're saying. If you're target calling things like Genji and Zarya and making calls like that are pretty simplistic, right? Obviously, a language barrier you pretty much know what Genji is, right? But yeah, he definitely, it takes a bit. We have a translator with him. I'm not sure if you saw my recent retweet. I actually have a whiteboard with a bunch of words that he's learning that we are saying. It's actually, if you look at the whiteboard that we have, it's literally one day of scrims. This whiteboard was full. Completely full. So he's able to look to his left, look at the whiteboard, understand it's written in Korean, so he can look and see what it means and then understand it in English.
Now, what was the thought process with reaching out to get Korean players? Because not every pro scene in every game does this. Sometimes they're more region locked in a way where they're just trying to not even work with the language barrier like you guys are working through now. I almost feel like there was a domino effect in the West where a couple teams started doing it, so everyone realized well, we've got to better snatch up these Korean players before they're all gone. What was your guys' thought process with it?
I'll get into 2 points here. A lot of the reason why you're seeing a lot of Korean players come over now isn't necessarily because one team did it. It's because a lot of Korean teams are starting to break up now, and the talent's kind of it's kind of there. And a lot of Korean players like the idea of coming to the United States and having hopefully a good salary, being able to do things that aren't normal. It's kind of exciting. It's like if, people go to Apex, it's exciting, right? So a lot of Korean players are willing to come in and work through language barriers, and it's really cool. It's really cool to see. I don't mind it only because I've grown up watching traditional sports, right? It wasn't like any of those teams were limited to players from the United States, right? You would see a bunch of people come together and play a sport that they loved. It's the same concept, it's just a bunch of people who love Overwatch playing on a team together. It doesn't matter where you're from. What does that matter? To the process. So one thing I love about Selfless is that after a while as players, I've been a part of Selfless for about a year now. Same with a couple of other players. We've kind of realized that having full control over your roster and the decisions that you make isn't necessarily a good idea. So after a while, we kind of just let the manager or the co-owner of Selfless kind of just do it himself. We let him find the players, develop the roster. We show up. After playing games for years now, the reason why I like that idea more than just we're going to go find players is that it kind of developed cliques, in my opinion. What ends up happening is you'll have players on teams where a clique will be created, and those players will isolate their other teammates. You'll honestly feel like you're under scrutiny from them, and you play on edge a lot of the time. So when you have our team bringing players for you, a a lot of the time you can kind of develop chemistry that you wouldn't normally develop when you have those clicks and stuff like that. Because for me, I just want to show up and do my job and be the best at it, right? And if you have 6 players who have a job to do and they all want to do that, it'd be really good, right? I find that's a big part of it, is that, like, you know, with Carpe, basically after the whole situation happened, you know, situation I'm talking about, we were in a situation where, like, you know, as players, it was like we have a week to get a player for contenders. So we had to kind of wait and see, and then just communication happened with Carpe and then the org, and we made everything work, and we're excited to have them. It's been exciting because it's just bringing in a team player is really awesome. And having somebody who has a different mindset too. Like, I feel like a lot of what is happening too is a lot of Western teams are getting, you know, Korean players who are coming in and giving them more of an open mind to things, like, hey, we can do this too. And it adds more, you know, strategy and adds more teamwork, in my opinion.
So would you say, with the combined effort of trying to get the best players from all regions, can we see the West eventually rival the other regions? Because I feel, especially NA seems to be lagging a bit behind Europe, who's lagging a bit behind Korea. It sort of goes down that path. Do you think we're going to see that gap get closed?
So hard to tell. I mean, do
you even agree that that's a thing? Maybe you think differently. I don't know. I sort of assumed that.
I think there's a lot of teams who can beat each other any given day of the week, no matter what region they're from. Well, once again, I think it boils down to teamwork. It boils down to kind of having 6 players on the same page. I think that's the biggest thing. I think having rosters stay consistent, I think that's a big thing. I think chemistry is a big thing. There's a lot of things that come into play when it comes to why teams aren't doing as well. It's hard to say, because there's never been a tournament where every single Korean team, you know, or you know, a bunch of Korean teams, a bunch of American teams, a bunch of European teams, all these teams come together and play each other. It hasn't been a tournament, so it's so hard to theorize on that. You know, it's so hard to actually say how everything would go. Now, granted, don't get me wrong, I do think the Korean teams are really good. Right now, they clearly are doing really well for themselves out there. I definitely think they have a little bit of an edge on the teamwork side of things. So,
all right, well, let's wrap things up. When do you stream normally?
I'm a nighttime streamer, so I basically stream probably around 10:30 to 12 a.m. Eastern, so 10:30 p.m. to 12 a.m. Eastern, and I usually stream for like 5-6 hours, generally after some nice 8-hour practice. So I do love myself some Overwatch. You got to get it, you know? If you love what you do, you do it a lot, right? So
where can everybody find you? What's all the names of your social media and stuff? I'll leave links in the description for all that.
I love this part. So twitch.tv/emongg with 2 G, so EMONGG. My YouTube is the same thing, EMONGG. My Twitter would be EMONGGTV, so Emongg TV. YouTube is I just kind of started up now. I basically upload my stream games, but on top of that, I'm like, for example, I have a positivity video coming out sometime in the next few days where I talk about how I remain positive and ranked. Like, it's not just I'm not just like faking positivity to do that. I have reasons behind it too. Like, you know, I have a good mindset on it.
It's been great talking to you. Hopefully we get to do this again sometime.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll see how it goes. See what people think, right? It was good to finally do this though.
Well, that wraps up our very first interview with a pro player, pro spotlight. Not really sure what we're going to call this series yet, but I hope you did enjoy it. If you did, please hit the like button. It really does help us out and lets us know that you're enjoying the content, which is especially important when we're trying out something new if you want to see it return. If you haven't already, please hit subscribe because we upload each and every day, so be sure to hit the bell icon so that you get updated when our videos go live. Join the notification squad. Linked in the description, you can check out our Twitter, where we tweet out news, updates, and pictures of us with Jeff Kaplan. That's been it for me. I've been FREEDO for Your Overwatch. I'll see you guys next time.